Hello and welcome to Cheers to Fears, where we combine alcohol and horror for your entertainment. We're your two hosts. I'm Tucker.
And I'm Alex. Also, if you want to know what we are drinking Emerald OJs, which is related to Jordan Peele's Nope. And today, we're going to be making a drinking game for Jordan Peele's Nope, which is the third horror movie written and directed by Jordan Peele.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
With Peele's success with both Get Out and Us, he's starting to become a staple in regards to modern horror directors such as Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, and Mike Flanagan. What all these directors have in common is that their careers have taken off in the 2010s as they have released magnificent horror movies in that decade, and it is only the beginning of their directing careers, so we are excited to see what new movies they will bring to the table.
Nope is about a family that trains horses in the movie business, mostly ran by older brother OJ. One night when tending to one of the horses, he notices a UFO in the sky. His sister named Emerald motivates him to attempt to get it on film, as they could make some of their money problems magically go away. So the family go off to grab camera equipment from a local electronics store and wait to get something supernatural on film.
Before we go on to the drinking rules, we should mention that some of the rules themselves do have minor spoilers, but none of them should really take you out of the movie too much. Also, just a side note, because Nope came out this year, we will not be counting drinking totals for this movie. With that being said, let's move on to the rules.
As usual, our first rule is death, and I think there's a fair bit of death in this.
I don't want to get too into spoilers, but yeah, people die in this movie. Moving on to a rule with, I guess, less spoilers, is going to be screams, cries, and yells. And I'd say maybe about average.
Yeah,
we didn't notice
probably average.
too many. Maybe even a little bit less, to be honest.
Yeah, it didn't stand out as being all the time. Like, it's not a slasher movie by any means, so there's probably a little less screaming than average, but I'm sure that's a decent number. It won't be like Get Out.
Definitely.
But anyways, we'll move on to rule number 3. It's whenever technology malfunctions, and I'd say this is a pretty prominent rule in the movie. It's kind of indicating whenever the UFOs are around, I guess.
Yeah, I could definitely see this being a high number for sure. Moving on to the next rule is whenever a title card showing a name appears.
Yeah, it's generally the name of one of the horses, or Gordy's name shows up on one of them. It's decent. I think it'll be a single-digit rule, though. It'll be maybe 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
I think even less than that.
Yeah.
But definitely count out and tell us in the comments.
Yeah. And speaking of animals, it leads us right to our next rule. Rule number 5, anytime animals act out, you gotta take a sip.
This can be seen throughout the film. I mean, I don't think it's really spoiler territory, but it's almost a little bit of a theme in the movie, trying to control things.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's move on to the next rule, which is rule number 6. Whenever a string of flags is shown, you take a sip.
Yeah, and a string of flags, specifically, it's like those little colorful triangle flags that are on a string. You kind of see them at like fairs, and mostly at fairs or maybe car dealerships, for example. But I'd say this happens fairly frequently, and we won't get into why you see them because it's a spoiler, but it
might be up there quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be a decent rule. Speaking of decent rules that might give you a few drinks, it's rule number 7. Whenever a UFO, or in the movie they call it UAP, is seen, that's when you got to take a sip. I do think it will give you a decent amount of sips.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think it's really spoilers, because obviously it's what the movie's about. People see a spaceship and they try to record it.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's move on to the next rule. Whenever there's a flashback scene. And to be fair, this is a running theme in most of Jordan Peele's movies. You saw it a little bit in Get Out. You see it, I think, a little bit more in Us.
Yep.
But it's not too much, but there is definitely flashbacks in those movies.
And this movie too, and it's not a ton of times, but it's at least worth including because the flashbacks we do get are very prominent to the storyline, and it helps, I guess, advance the story being told.
Oh, definitely.
So it's definitely important in this movie. Anyways, moving on to the second last rule, it's whenever Jupiter's Claim Festival is shown, and this is in the movie a fair bit, honestly. It's like maybe where half the movie takes place. Not quite half, but a third.
Yeah, I'd say maybe a third, maybe a quarter. So I'd say it's going to show up at least a little bit. Anyways, let's move on to the final rule for this evening. Something related to recording takes place. And I feel like this is going to be one that's quite a bit.
Yeah, so they have the surveillance cameras set up. They're trying to get a director to, shoot this movie or to get this footage. They have cameras on their phones that they might be using. There's different ways that this rule applies, and it might be some that you miss because there's so many different ways that they record, but it's anything related to recording. So that wraps up all the rules we have for this drinking game. We do want to remind you that we don't have totals for this movie, so we don't technically know the difficulty of this drinking game because we didn't count the drinks. We will say that it's probably in between Get Out and Us, though.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. Some rules that we also could have added into the movie, I guess, whenever the title is said, so whenever somebody says a nope.
Yeah.
Or whenever a horse is seen.
Yeah, specifically with horse scene, we didn't want to include that because it would have been far too much. That would have been like in the 30s probably, like some of the Us rules.
Yeah.
Which we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a break and not have another over-the-top drinking game.
Yeah.
But as far as the rules we did include, I would say some of the common ones were whenever a UFO is seen, string of flags, and probably recordings. Those ones, I'd say, are probably in the top 3 amounts, I'd say.
Yeah, and I feel like those rules could even push it over the edge and kind of make it closer to Us as opposed to Get Out. I feel like it's definitely going to lean closer to Us in my opinion.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say without actually counting the totals, but I think it'll be a lot easier because there's less mercied rules. That's where I think it'll be easier. Won't be drinking so much in one scene, I guess.
Definitely.
That's the main thing.
And with all that being said, we hope you enjoyed our drinking game on Nope. If you end up playing the game alongside the movie, or if you have any other feedback or suggestions, let us know in the comments below.
Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our episode coming out tomorrow, where we are going to have a discussion about every Jordan Peele movie and maybe do some comparisons of the 3. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and this is us saying cheers to fears.
fears.